Tchia takes the gameplay of Breath of the Wild and is set in New Caledonia with a narrative inspired by the mythology of the region. Though the game may be bright and colourful, the story quickly becomes rather dark with an evil ruler, Miavora, kidnapping your parents, and of course, you have to rescue them. To do so, you'll run around a gorgeous open world and climb, glide and slide to your heart's content. Traversal is simple and fast once you get the hang of it, especially when you figure out that Tchia can land on trees and launch yourself off them, which is my favourite mechanic in the game as it creates an awesome sense of momentum when using the hang glider. But a stamina bar does limit some of your abilities, like how long you can climb or glide. Oh, and did I mention you can possess animals and other things too? Some animals have unique abilities like a crab that can cut ropes, though birds were hands down the most useful as they allowed me to get to places quickly. Plus, I love that I can crap on command. My eyes were wide open with excitement once I got into the open world. I saw dolphins swimming and birds flying high in the trees. I could even possess a coconut for God's sake. But when I had my first combat encounter and discovered that soul jumping to flammable objects and launching them at enemies was the main form of combat, I was lulled into a false sense that this game was going to be truly an interactive sandbox. But that hope was quickly dispelled by future encounters, as all of my ideas like crapping on random NPCs as a bird failed to elicit a reaction. I then realised that combat is literally just possessing a flammable object and throwing it at the enemies. Also, barring a few instances, I found that the animals were practically useless. Soul jumping into any animal other than a bird was a waste of time. Yeah, deer could run fast on the ground, but they were nowhere near as useful as a bird that can go anywhere. Even later, you find this unique creature that I expected to have an interesting ability, but to my disappointment, they were the exact same as any other flying creature. I would have preferred no combat at all, given the more tranquil nature of the game. But since the devs did include it, there are so many ways that it could have been improved, such as including more strategic elements. Later in the game, you unlock a song to summon a fireball-throwing mythological creature that you can use in combat, but it was as simple as aiming and shooting with no variation whatsoever. I would have loved to have a bird that can swoop and attack enemies, or even a boar that can charge and damage them so that it didn't feel so samey. Thankfully, when it comes to exploration, I love the more hands-off approach, because the map never shows exactly where you are, but rather only provides a rough location. It made exploring feel more fun and rewarding as I had to look out for smokestacks off in the distance or shining lights for a trinket or stamina fruit, while using the compass to help navigate. The open world objectives are exactly what you'd expect. Collecting trinkets to buy cosmetics, finding stamina fruit, diving from heights and even races. The races were my favourite, but everything else simply felt like busy work. The only reward in the game are cosmetic items, so after a couple of hours I didn't engage with the activities because A, they weren't interesting enough on their own, and B, the rewards weren't worth it in my eyes. Once the credits rolled, I had no interest in going back to clear out the map. The story was unmemorable. Tchia's powers were the most interesting part, but there was little development in her character or the characters around her. Some moments tried to hit me hard, but I didn't care for any of the cast, so they lacked the punch that they were going for. However, Tchia succeeds in creating a calming atmosphere, and it's all down to the presentation. This game is stunning. Just look at the water. I can't count the number of times I got to a vantage point and just stood there to soak it in. Cruising over the sea towards your next objective was breathtaking. Not only is the world relaxing, but there is plenty of downtime mainly delivered through these music sections where you sit down and play an instrument to the music. These chill games resonate differently depending on what mood or state of mind I'm in. We all have those days or weeks where we feel stressed, and I often find myself diving into games like Alba, Little Gator Game or Lonely Mountains Downhill to unwind. And I think Tchia will resonate with a lot of people who are in that state of mind. Right now, however, I wasn't feeling that way, so the relaxing atmosphere didn't overshadow my many issues with the game. I've touched on how beautiful the game is, but unfortunately it does come at a cost. The frame rate was a bit all over the place. It never got so bad that it seriously dampened my enjoyment, but it was just another small thing that added to all the other negatives. Ultimately, Tchia feels rather aimless. Most of the mechanics are fairly shallow, making it feel as wide as an ocean and as deep as a puddle, with a lot of things to do, but not a lot of things to do with them. The story didn't hit whatsoever for me, with bland characters and an uninteresting narrative as a result. It does, however, create an amazing atmosphere which makes the opening few hours fantastic. But once I realised how mundane the open world tasks are, and how surface level soul jumping and combat is, I lost all my interest in the game. It has its moments, but I'm mixed on Tchia. Don't forget to subscribe and check out that video on the left, and I'll see you all on the next video.